Hello, folks. Welcome to another campaign update. My name's Fina Bonoan. I'm running for U.S. Senate under the banners of America's third largest political party, the Libertarians. And with me today, running for the gold rush with me, it's a marathon. It's Mike Scott. He's in Maryland. He's running for U.S. Senate too, as a Libertarian. Good morning.
I love your intros more and more every week. That's why I just let them keep going. Fair warning, there is a fly in my office, and it keeps messing with me. So if I pick this up and I go, this is my assault weapon. Assault weapon. It takes out flies. My little brother got this for me. I dig it. Sorry about that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. I'm Mike Scott. I'm running for U.S. Senate in the great state of Maryland. And did you see how much your opponent, Rick Scott, was getting from AIPAC? Woo! I posted that on one of the things and tagged you in it on Twitter. Man, you got a long road to hoe if you're going to outbuy all those people who want foreign wars to continue forever. I mean, you know, how can you compete with that?
I can't. I absolutely cannot compete with that on the same level. And so we got to do the old playground stuff where you drag them down to yours and beat them up.
Dude, everybody asked me about my campaign update, and you asked me about my campaign update, and I actually go do stuff. Like I was at this thing. A friend of mine, Melanie, runs a gallery down in Anacostia, and a friend of mine named David, he goes by Dad Tafari. He was there. It was his pictures. And I mean, some of those pictures were kind of nice. I mean, that's me standing in front of one of them, right? So it's not like I don't go out and campaign, and it's not like I don't go out and do stuff. How do I put it? I've done the numbers. I was a math major. I was a stats guy. Until the regular person, Tom, Dick, Harry, Mary, Sue, and even Karen decide that they're done with the duopoly and that they're done with the shenanigans, we don't have a way to go in. It's like pushing a wet noodle. Everybody's like, where are your signs? Where are your signs? I can't build enough signs. I don't have the budget. I drive by 1 million of them. I got not only Angela also Brooks running for Senate against me. Man, I had Beyonce up on stage chanting freedom before this chick is talking. And what am I going to do? And who am I going to talk to? Right? It's an entire machine. A man that I go to church with named Hatch, friend of mine, really good guy. He's one of the ministers. He recommended a book called Influence by, I think his name is Sialabin, doctor. Fairly old book. Never read it. The amount of things that they do that they know make people identify, because once I identify Republican, once I identify Democrat, that's who I am, man. And I'll fight you for trying to get me to change. And I will F you up for telling me that I'm wrong. And that's the machine we're against. Not only is it 26 million or 30 million is the average it takes for a Senate nominee to get elected, average, not the high, that's the average amount those cats spend. Not only do we have to get past that, but then we have to get past the machine that has been telling them for the past ever that you're wasting your vote if you vote anything but red or blue. And I look at them and I say the same thing. I'm like, yo, if you're in Maryland, last time we sent forth the presidential nominee was for the Republicans was 87, Bush the elder. Before that was Reagan, only his second time, and before that was Tricky Dicky. Similar with senators. We sent somebody in 87. Maryland, in general, does not F with anybody but Democrats. We had a couple governors. That's it. They don't mess with anything other than Democrat in general, and they identify with that. And you have to get past that. Now, luckily, the people of Maryland are willing to get past that occasionally, but you have to provide a compelling case. What I'm saying is if the current Democrats and Republicans haven't provided a compelling case to not vote for them, no amount of campaigning, no amount of giving back No amount of going around neighborhoods and talking to folks and doing this bull crap is going to matter, because we're in a popularity contest powered by money. And until people get tired of their own enslavement, we can do two things about it: Jack and shit. And Jack just left town. Pardon my language. And I'm done.
That'll be something Friday night.
I rant. I'm sorry. I rant.
No, it's good.
People keep asking this money, and I am on a principled stance. It should not be money. The money is the easy part. If I make senator, everybody and their mama will hand me money. It's not about the money. It's about somebody willing to do the job. And the only job worth doing is shrinking government so that we can free ourselves from the yoke of their enslavement.
Yes, I agree, Mike. And I want to get into my campaign update real quick. So last week we had an interview with candidates for Assange, and I have not had a chance to download the episode yet to chop it up and share with you guys, but we did do that. Also, I made some more commercials. I made
you said Assange, right?
Yeah. I made some new memes. So stick this, save these, and go on my profile, find these, save them in your bank. And whenever you see someone talking about, something like education, pop this in the comments. See them talking about guns, pop this in the comments. Are they talking about the environment? Pop this in the comments. Immigration reform, pop it in the comments. Criminal justice reform, pop it in the comments. It's easy. Money, boom, there you go. So, I have a new way we're going to do Liberty on the Road. I don't know if we're going to do this forever like this, because it is kind of time consuming, but I had a lot to put out from this weekend. So I'm going to put it in. And while I'm in there, because I was on Candidates for Assange and they do something a little bit different with their visuals, I see that my name is like super long and it's going to end up cutting me off, like cutting my head off. So I'm going to pop out and I'm going to pop back in with my name fixed. Okay. But here's Liberty on the Road. I'm going to show it, and then I'm going to tell you about it, and then I might show it again.
I'm Fina Bowan, and I approve this message.
Taxation is theft. Yeah. So a little quicker, a little bit more entertaining. So just to sum it up, this weekend, let's see, where all did we go? We started out in Pinellas County over Clearwater, met up with those folks for a sunset. And then the next day, and also you saw some pictures of me with the Libertarian National Choir Director, Marcia Powell, who took me to the Church of Scientology, which I've never been to. I haven't really looked into Scientology that much, but they actually revitalized all of the Clearwater downtown area, and it is beautiful. And so big props on that. Let's see. Then we went to Sarasota, and we stayed at the nice hotels this weekend. So last weekend we stayed at like Motel 8s, Economy Inn. This weekend we stayed
at Motel 8s now.
I'm not, but it's a scale. This weekend we stayed with our hotel points for a credit card. You get points, whatever. So we used our points and we stayed at the Sheraton, and then we stayed at the Ritz-Carlton. And I've always wanted to stay at the Ritz-Carlton in Sarasota because it's such a beautiful building. And so we had the points, and so we did it. And So while we were in Sarasota, we saw the Ringling Museum. We didn't get to go around as much as we wanted to because we were crunched on time. We also went to the Tarpon Springs. We drove through there on the way out of Clearwater. We did, there's a Buddhist temple out there in Hillsborough County area over by Tampa that we stopped on Sundays. They have this great Thai food, like fresh pad Thai, fresh spring rolls, just a really beautiful setting. And then in Sarasota, we met up with James Ray, who was the person that sponsored the bumper stickers. He's the one that was like, all right, I'm making a donation just so you can have bumper stickers. So we got the bumper stickers, and just driving around, it was a lot of fun, a lot of beautiful sights to see. It's this is campaigning in paradise. You know, this is the beautiful side, and all sides of Florida are beautiful. I just really enjoyed being back in my home. When I say my home, the place where I was born. And I got to tell folks that, you know, I was born here in Sarasota. And I want to remind folks that while we're on this campaign trail, what we say is important. But what the most important thing is that we listen to people, because that's what they want. They want us to listen. And this weekend, I had a bus driver from the Ritz-Carlton. We were on the bus with him, and we were just one of two passengers. And he was talking about, he was born and raised in Sarasota, and he was talking about his daughter and how he just bought a bicycle for his daughter. And that bicycle cost $700. And he didn't even realize it until he got the bill. And it was just like, what happened to the $100 Huffies? What happened to him? Inflation happened to him. So it goes back to that what we were talking about last week, where we talked about how the number one issue is the economy. It's the one thing that's on most people's minds, is that affects most people most intimately, because we're talking about gas prices, we're talking about grocery prices, we're talking about housing prices, we're talking about that bicycle to get your daughter, you know. And
Speaking of the bicycle to get the daughter, that book Influence gave a very good example. They said that around Christmas time, they promote heavily. In other words, they pimp certain products that they know they undersupply. So you promise to get your kid Cabbage Patch or whatever, that whole gray market gets started, but you promised to get it for them. They didn't make enough to go around. So you get them something comparable. And then a month or two later, when nobody's spending money, that toy that you promised to get the daughter comes available. And they got you twice. And they've been doing this subtly for years, and it's an old trope. We are manipulated without ever knowing how. And it's not just the $700 bikes, but damn it,
it's not. So
4 years ago, that $700 bike was $350.
Another lady at the Ringling Museum said she just wants to see a nice smile again. She wants to see people smiling at each other again and being friendly to each other. And we do have some guests today. They're backstage, folks. And so I'm going to play the Liberty on the Road one more time. And then I'm going to cut to commercial. And then we're going to bring on Dennis Simpson from Florida.
Can you up the volume of the commercial? Because when it comes off your screen, it's a little low. Okay.
No, it's we're working with StreamYard. I don't. No, not today. Is in the machine right now. Okay.
You can't just make it go like they do on the starts.
You can turn your volume up if you need to hear. Yeah. Okay.
I'm Fina Bowan, and I approve this message.
Taxation is theft. Attention, Florida. We believe in maximum freedom and limited government. There will be multiple libertarians on your ballot this November. So take a chance on something different.
I'm Fina Bonoan, and I approve this message.
All right, folks. Another Florida candidate we have on stage with us today, Dennis M. Simpson Jr. Hello and welcome.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, Dennis, I'm going to give you the solo spotlight, and I want you to tell folks what you're running for and some of the key issues and what makes you qualified and the right person for this job. And go.
Well, my name is Dennis M. Simpson. If you can't tell, I'm in a work truck. I am just a single father that owns his own business. I see how we are overtaxed, overregulated. It just doesn't seem like there's anything you can do in your life at this point where the government doesn't have their finger in it. The country's getting more and more divided as people identify as either left or right. There's no room supposedly for a third party option, which I don't understand. Everybody, we all know that we need more options, especially when you look at the people and you go, really, is this the best that this country can provide? You kind of look around and go, no, there's other options. And those people don't want to hear it, whether it's because we can't fundraise enough, because we don't get mainstream media attention, whatever it may be. People have kind of dug their heels in, and it's either the left or the right, which I just don't understand how you can have so many complex issues where maybe you feel you lean more right on this issue or more left on the other issue. We're libertarians, we kind of cover everything. That's the beauty of being a libertarian. And sometimes the frustration of being a libertarian is you can be as liberal or conservative as you want to be, as long as you're not trying to use government to force those views onto others. So that's kind of inspired me to not really run for office, but I'm running more just to get a bigger platform, just so that way, hopefully we can spread the message of liberty. I have no, false intentions that I'm really going to win this thing. I'm not accepting any donations. I don't want anyone's money. I'm afraid that, the way that things are going, eventually they'll look back and go, oh, you donated to that extremist Dennis Simpson who's telling people to stop filing their taxes so we can have a peaceful reform. And you may get your central banking digital currency account frozen. So there's just a lot of scary things that are in the pipeline right now. And we really need to try to find a middle ground for everybody. And I think libertarian is it. I just wish everybody else would kind of do the research. We have all the information, all the technology at your fingertips, and nobody will do any research to find out who are all these other candidates. They assume when they go into that ballot, it's just going to be, Harris and Trump. And then you see 9 names and you've never heard of any of them. You've
Chase
never
Oliver,
researched it.
West,
Right.
Stein,
Right.
Cruz.
Right. So there's a lot of options, and everybody realizes that we need some middle ground, but it seems like they are more comfortable going towards unfortunately, a civil war than trying to look for third party options. And that's what I'm trying to prevent, is this division that we're seeing where it is coming to that point. You look at what's going on in the UK, Venezuela. I mean, all around the world, people are fighting for their freedoms. And I hope America doesn't have to get to that extreme before we go, things need to change.
I appreciate you running, and I appreciate your plain spoken. Like I said, I looked at your website, and Fina's got it, and it said both parties suck, and I could not agree more. You said something earlier. You said that you can be as liberal or as conservative as you'd like in the Libertarian Party, and I agree with that completely. Why do you think in that case they're looking at our nominee and they're giving him purity tests and dismissing him, and then celebrating nominees who are maybe not even half as libertarian as he is?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of rumors around Chase Oliver for whatever reason, whether it is internal on the Libertarian Party or external, where they're hyping it up. They're saying that, oh, this is his stance because, he wants forced vaccination. Just because he got vaccinated doesn't mean that he ever wanted other people to be vaccinated. He may believe that families have the right to be able to choose what is best for their children. And if that's going to be starting to transition, then that's up to that family. I can't imagine, if my kids were to come to me and say, hey, this is the path that we're going to go down now. What what that conversation would lead to, the input that I would get from my kids. But the last thing I want, if I'm in that situation, is the government telling me, hey, we're going to arrest you if this is what you feel is the best option for you and your family. So there's a lot of things you may not agree with, but getting government into it, I hope we all agree. Let's not do that.
Yeah.
So speaking of family and kids, we haven't really talked about our subject today of the education system and what's going on. So Mike, I'm gonna give you the duo solo. Okay. So if you want to go over some of these facts and figures and you guys talk about it for a minute.
Well, before we do that, I'm going to show how I was fundraising out in Ocean City. I almost bought that shirt. That's what I feel like whenever people ask me to ask folks for money. I mean, I'm not gay, but $20 is $20. Apologies. I looked up Florida and I looked up spending per pupil because you guys are Florida guys. Most of the research I did was in Maryland, but I thought y'all should see it. Oh, wait, I have a pretty graphic before we go into that. I'm going to leave that up for another second, and then I'm going to switch to the nationwide view, which can let other folks, irrespective of where they are, see what the truth is. We used to spend $3,000 on students, and Johnny couldn't read. Now we spend, in Maryland, it's like 19 grand per student, and Johnny still can't read. In Florida, it looks like $35.5 billion annually. My cousin lives down in Florida. He celebrated because DeSantis started sending him like $8,000 per kid to send his kids to whatever school they wanted. And I was upset because the governor didn't go, you know what? We took way too much money in. We're going to slash taxes and submit every homeowner and every person who paid into the system money. But what do you think about schools, school choice, the best options for the future, and government schooling?
Well, Florida has just started. I think this is the first year where it's actually rolling out with the school choice. It is a step in the right direction, but it's not everything. And if you pay attention to what's going on in Florida, it's kind of what they're doing. They're dangling that carrot and giving you a little bit of freedom, but you got to keep on fighting for more. So we just got concealed carry passed, but you can't open carry. We have Amendment 3 on the bill this time, so that way we can vote on it and hopefully pass for recreational marijuana, but you can't grow your own. You follow the money and you realize they just keep dangling it along. Same thing with this education. They have made it easier to transition out of the public school system and be able to use some of those funds for school choice. Hopefully parents will jump on this and realize, if you have more Christian values, maybe you find more Christian-based schooling, whether it's a micro school, whether it's a private school. They're kind of reluctant to allow it to be a private school, but that's really what it's going to turn into. Is you're going to be able to pick and choose what your morals and your values. You should be able to pick your teacher. You should be able to pick your schedule. If you've got a mother and you work as a server or a bartender, you're probably at work most days when your kids are getting off school. So as they're going to school, that's your time off. As you're going to work, they're coming home. When are you supposed to spend time with your kids? So there's a lot of different things that we could definitely tweak to take advantage of everyone's scheduling, beliefs. Once you're raising your children in an environment that you truly and fully believe in, I think that happiness and acceptance of others, that stuff will kind of fall in line. So if you do have more of a rainbow school, we'll call it, and everybody is loved and accepted there, and maybe you have the Christian school next door, and they're a little bit more, judgmental on you.
They should be more loving and accepting.
They should be, but I don't assume that they're all going to be that way. But eventually we'll find out. These students, they end up with whether it's criminal history or they're just not, doing so well. They're on the dole for welfare or whatever it is. And we'll finally be able to figure out exactly what works and what doesn't work instead of this one size fits all factory style education program, which is new. This is not.
And we're getting worse outcomes. Yes. And we're getting worse out. That's the important part. It's not only more and more expensive every freaking year, but we're getting worse outcomes. And that's and a hybrid would work too. We've already got this great infrastructure. There's literally schools, like 5 of them within spitting distance of me. So keep using the infrastructure. And if you want a public school option, maybe 10% of the classrooms for folks who insist on being in the public school system for one reason or another. And then you can rent out a few other classrooms. If you've got 20 students per class and you have 60 students or 50 students, that's still plenty of money for you to build your school, pay a couple teachers and affect what you need to affect. And you're even paying a little rent back to the city and the state for all the money they've blown in, and that'll pay for their teachers. I mean, there are ways through this, but I cannot let folks know enough. I'm not talking about, I was bringing up Maryland schools, 19,820 per pupil, 17.6 total. This isn't Prince George's County. Prince George's County has $2.7 billion. This is Howard County schools, and they're getting in math about 50%. That's Howard County. Those are among our best. Montgomery County schools, about 45%. You go down to Prince George's County, where my kids go to school. Now, before I show this, my kids read and do math above grade level. They're always in that 97th percentile, but it's because I sit there and I've coached them and I tell them, and I don't have the patience to give them a base, but I have the patience to explain to them why things are and help them out. But I also have the wherewithal to do that. Most people in PG County do not, because that's our report card, baby. That is Angela Also Brooks, my opponent in Senate, whose answer is to spend more money. I think y'all getting enough money. I think a change of approach is necessary, because we're throwing good money after bad. We just are.
Yeah.
And I get preachy and I tell stories. But man, our best high schools in PG County, our best high school is number 30 in the state. This is $2.7 billion a year. And by the way, their math literacy is probably down there in that 20 percentile too. It's public schools are making us worse. And that's all I'm saying. I'm sorry for ranting. I get on these rants because I have to tell a story and give a little bit of backstory and history so people will understand how disgusted they should be about this. So,
well, unfortunately, most people don't do their own research. As we talked about, they have all the information at their fingertips on their phone, their computer, or tablet, whatever it may be. They don't want to see the hard truth. We are supposedly the greatest nation, but we don't test in the top 20% of anything that's of value, whether it's math, science, technology. We are behind
healthcare.
There's a couple countries that when you hear their name, you're like, we're behind them.
And we're more expensive.
Right. And so we're not getting the results. And when you bring up other alternatives, such as these micro schools, it's almost, well, no, that's different. And we don't know if that's going to work. It's like, it's not working now. What are you holding on to that you're so scared to give up to try anything?
We are violent and oppressive and nasty and getting stupider each generation. And it's not really stupidity. It's they don't think, because it has to be done on purpose. They legit make it so we don't think. They don't like us to think, so they dissuade us from it. It's just there can't be another explanation. It's done on purpose. Get your kids out of public schools if you can't teach them to think yourself. That's my opinion.
Oh yeah. So go ahead.
Dennis, were you raised in the Florida school system?
No.
Where are you from?
I was born in Delaware. My dad was in the Marines, so I went to California, North Carolina, back to Delaware. I graduated high school in North Carolina. I came to Florida probably about 16, 17 years ago.
What part of North Carolina?
Raleigh.
Raleigh. Okay, because we get a lot of North Carolina listeners or viewers, because I was actually raised in North Carolina. I got a lot of family out there, as well as Florida as well. So, and you're not the first candidate. You are so, like, I don't know, maybe third or fourth candidate that's got ties to North Carolina that are not in North Carolina. And it's just, so folks, if you don't know, North Carolina has one of the best libertarian parties in the nation. It's
Mike Ross,
per
governor
capita.
candidate.
Yeah, per capita, the most libertarians, as far as like percentage wise of like the voting bloc, and that's powerful. That's a powerful thing. They're in a position where they have lawmakers and Congress people coming to their meetings, not them going to, not necessarily, of course, they go to their the other meetings too, but they actually come to the libertarians because they know that's an important voting bloc. And that's where I was raised to get my libertarianism. So I'm curious, was that where you started getting into libertarianism as well as in North Carolina, or when did you come across libertarianism?
That's definitely when I was at least introduced to it. The first go around with Obama, he was the change I could believe in until I saw him in action and was like, you got to be kidding me. So for a second term, that's where I said, okay, there's got to be other options. And at first it's, well, this guy, Ron Paul, he wants to legalize marijuana. And I was like, okay, that's great, for one topic, but what else? And they really didn't have a whole lot of other stuff. They were just kind of excited that, there was somebody that was running. He was a Republican from Texas. So he should have had a much larger platform than he did. But of course, when you speak the truth, you get pigeonholed no matter where you're from or who you are. So I did a little bit more research into him as I realized it looked like Obama was going to win again. And we were going to go another 4 years of the same stuff that, he claimed he wasn't going to do, and fell right in line with all of them. And that's really where I started kind of doing a little bit more research. And Ron Paul, like I'm sure a lot of people, was the one that brought me in.
A lot of folks think that they use the term Ron Paul Republican and assume that everyone that came and followed Ron Paul was from the Republican Party and was a breakoff of the Republican Party. But that's just not true. That is absolutely not true. There's people that were independent, people that were more Democrat, people that were Obama fans. Our first candidate was more of like a Bernie Sanders guy. He was a Bernie bro. And then he found Ron Paul and he found the libertarian movement after being, kind of dumped on by the Democrats. And,
Right.
It's just, we have to take the narrative and control it ourselves, or else we're going to be in a position where we are getting labeled and identified in ways that do not resonate with us. So
one of the best things we could do, period, would be to get rid of political parties so that nominees would have to campaign on their merits and on the issues. Because if you look at Trump and Harris, both of them want to ban guns. Neither of them is going to put draws on Israel. Israel is going to continue to run rampant. Both of them want increased immunity for cops, increased police powers. I got
to disagree with you there, Mike. I'm going to disagree with you there because political parties are the way that people that are not financially independent can get ahead.
Once you label yourself as a member of a party, then you identify with that and you defend it against everybody who comes after you. So the fact that I'm in Prince George's County, which is a Democratic stronghold.
That's one way to use the party. But if we don't have political parties, we will end up with an oligarchy more than we have already.
I don't think so. I think the money would fly out of it, and you'd have to, and you take the money out of it, term limits, campaign finance reform, take the money out of it. Everybody gets like a 30-minute block on whatever platforms, and you can say your piece and people can ask you questions. And then they pimp that all over on all the news stations and that's it. That's what you get to do. You get to have a platform and you get to have ideas and you get to talk about coalitions if need be. So
I feel like you're talking a little bit about negotiation. So I always say, don't go to the negotiation table and ask for more than what you're willing, and start out with what you're willing to walk away with, because you're going to get tit and tat. You're going to go back and forth, right? So I'm going to show.
I want it gone is what I'm saying. I don't know if you saw that. I'm not an anarchist because I'm running for office, damn it. But were I not running for office, I would be wondering how to burn this stuff down, because the more you find out about it and the deeper down the rabbit hole you go, the more you realize that we are owned and handled. And it pisses me off and I'm violent. So as a follower, you try to be a kind person, you try to show love, and you try to walk how he would and explain it to folks. But I ain't playing with these cats. I'm in a bad mood because they are destroying my children's future, and I want them gone. Gone.
That's a big part of my platform is, again, I don't anticipate to win. You know, kind of coming in as a new person with, you know, not taking donations, being independent, doing this all on my own. But if I can just get in front of the Republicans, because I do live in a very red district, hold your person responsible, you know, and when he goes there, don't let him toe the party line. Don't let him vote just because. When we had the constitutional carry come up, I went to Tallahassee with a few people, and we did talk to all of our representatives and told them, you know, we need to get open carry. And the result was, hey, I just got elected in. This is my first term. You really want me to go back and tell them that I voted against this? And I'm like, well, you should go back and tell them I'm trying to get you all of your rights, but nobody's going to want to hear that. They're just going to hear you voted against it, and then that rumor is going to spread like wildfire. So I do like the idea of getting rid of political parties, at least on the ballots. Let people figure out who's on the ballot, do their own thing. But there are voter guides and things that are coming up now. And people aren't doing their own research. They're just going, hey, you're a Republican. I trust you. Do you mind giving me your rundown of who I should vote for? And then that's honestly all they're doing. It's kind of disgusting.
It's actually worse than that. Up here, people will send you a sample ballot. Looks just like the real ballot. This is not one of them. These are business card samples. And they send it to you and tell you exactly how to fill it out. So you don't even need to know how to read. You just go through and match the freaking dots.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go to a commercial real quick, and when we come back, we're gonna highlight your website and talk a little bit more. Okay.
And tell us.
Never go to the negotiation table and ask for what you're willing to walk away with. That's why we need libertarians who will play hardball and come from the corner of taxation is theft when it comes to your money. Do it for yourself. Do it for your future. Do it for America. I'm Fina Bonoan, and I approve this message.
All right. I'm going to bring up that screen. All right. Can you guys see the screen? All right, great. So this is your website. Uses cookies. People allowing government to burden the next generation with debt, then realizing they are, in fact, the next generation. I love Steve Harvey. I love you, Steve. I love Steve Harvey all day long.
Right.
Oh, I like your little pop-ups.
Apologies.
Yeah, that's a lot of that stuff is GoDaddy. I didn't know. That one picture there was just a stock photo that they had. And because I do like NOTA as an option, I decided to leave it up there and vote with no one at the podium.
That's
thanks,
good.
GoDaddy. Right.
That's awesome work right there. But you know what else you could do? You could probably, I mean, I know I could definitely. Can you send me that picture? Because I'm a Photoshop myself in there. No shame. No shame.
Right. You may want to find out where that is. If that's one of them Austrian things where it's pre-Nazi, I don't know. I don't know where that photo came from.
I love. Look at this. The world if we still tarred and feathered corrupt politicians. You got a mean spank bank.
Yeah. Memes seem to get through since most people aren't going to read an article. They give up after maybe the first paragraph or two.
For sure.
This is the one I really like. I truly believe that we need to reform government at a minimum, if not just completely shut a lot of it down. And I don't know how we're going to do that, because you can't trust anybody to have a conversation and go, it does state that we have the right to alter or abolish government, but who can you trust after January 6th? If someone was to come to me with some crazy ideas about let's overthrow this, you're not going to believe that person. They're going to be a Fed all day. We are
not ready for a revolution. We don't shoot enough. We don't grow enough food. We don't know how to repair our own stuff. No, I do not want a revolution. I said I'm angry and people need to study. Don't pull nobody in a revolution. I like eating every day.
I
That's really good.
Yeah, I like that one.
MAGA, make America's government afraid again. That's good. That's like a play on Monstre's, the Yeah, yeah, and of course MAGA, right? MAGA, right? I like it. Okay. The news is propaganda. The state is organized crime. Taxation is theft. Socialism is the gospel of envy. That's good. All gun laws are an infringement. Liberty is everything. Oh, I love your memes. I love the memes. My
Thank
first
you.
website that I had for my campaign, we had a meme. We had it on the website, a meme spank bank, as well. Just because, like you said, it gets people on the on that same level. People don't read paragraphs anymore. Like,
Yeah, you got to
even
get their
going
attention
to this,
span and make an impact.
And like
yeah,
you
nobody
said,
reads
who
this.
can you trust? And
Right.
you honestly cannot trust politicians, because politicians, in order to win, you have to be independently wealthy or bought, which means you're representing interests that aren't we the people's, because you ain't we the people. You're
Yeah.
either an
So-
agent of some organization, or you're, this
So that's
fly
why
is getting to me,
I would
man.
hope
He's
people
bothering
that-
me on purpose.
Dennis, I will say you should definitely take your address off the map. Take the map off.
That's not my actual address. I think that was just somewhere in the middle of the district.
Okay, that's fine.
At least I
Yeah.
hope. I'm pretty sure.
Let
I
them
didn't-
dox the local Publix or something, not you.
Right.
Don't give them like step-by-step directions to your house.
Right.
So that's
I did that
make
myself.
them look a little bit, because people won't do research, even though it's easy to find addresses. Like,
No, I get a lot of mail. I get a lot of phone calls now that you run for office, you got to put that stuff out there, and it's like, dude, this is, especially from a libertarian point of view, this is against everything that we believe. Every time we do a meeting, all right, let's take a roll call. Let's take everybody's name here for who's the anti-government people, and it's like, this doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's not a real libertarian meeting if you don't have some fake names on that paper. I mean,
right.
man,
what's your
I'm
name?
telling
Tom Jefferson?
I went to the Elks Lodge because I was a friend of mine, retired 05 or 06, wanted me to help him talk about some stuff and wanted to introduce me. And I walked in and there were Trump signs, and I was like, oh God, I'm going to be associated with this somehow. But
Right.
they're really good people, and they're genuine people, and they like what I was saying, and they can't stand the other nominees, but they get sold whatever it is that they get sold, and then they end it with their life. It's rough out there. We have to make them understand they have to vote at least a little bit in service to their fellow community members, not in service to a party.
I feel like the Trump MAGA group is like right there. They finally are awake that, the government does not have their best interest and exactly how corrupt it is. I just don't think they've actually crossed that line yet to realize that, hey,
he's
Trump
part
is
of it.
Another politician. Yeah.
He's
also
part of it. He
had
increased
4 years to
the
prove what he would do, and he didn't. And they want to call Malay from Argentina, he's a Trump wannabe. And it's like, Trump wishes he was that. At least I wish Trump was that.
It was $6.6 trillion. He added another service. He banned bump stocks when I firmly believe that was a fully automatic weapon, not a damn bump. The dude did everything bad. He shut down the nation. He fast-tracked the jab.
Yep.
What is he going to do that he's asking for gun grabs, Aussie style? Grab the guns, give due process later.
Yeah.
How is he not them? Now he's got a Kennedy hanging out with him holding hands. How is he not them?
I just
She's
like the
them
message
too.
that he
But
has
he's them.
tried to open the majority of people's eyes. I'm more curious about what's going to happen to the movement after Trump. You kind of look at like the Tea Party that came up after the recession and the 99% against the 1% and the bailing out banks and all of that. And then they just got swept up in the Republicans, and they're just another wing of the same group.
No, they did to them what they did to Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter just started out some organization that was like, oh, can y'all stop killing brown folks, please? And then it got co-opted into some socialist nonsense. I think it's some counter-intel pro crap. They did the same thing to the Tea Party. When they realized people weren't going to go away from it, they infiltrated it, co-opted it, and made it part of the body. And that's what I'm afraid they're doing to the Libertarian Party right now. Infiltrating, co-opting, and we're infighting, so we're either going to be ineffective or absorbed. And that's why I'm getting to that point where, dude, it's got to be shrunk. Somebody has to stand up and say, I will shrink government. I would like a 95% reduction in government because I'm paying attention to what they're doing, not what they espouse, what they do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So we do have some comments from the audience. I've been posting some of them because they're like on point, on target, like in the moment. So I've been putting those up. Thank you, Joe Hanoush. By the way, Joe Hanoush, you are doing a phenomenal job right now with the Libertarian National social media promoting candidates. And
I love you, Joe Hanoush. Thank you.
Yeah, you're making friends right now. You definitely making some friends.
Am I the only one on this call right now who actually went to high school in Florida? Because I went to O'Galley down in Melbourne.
Yes.
I'm just saying, and I'm not running. I'm running in Maryland. I'm the Maryland nominee. Throwing that out there. Keep going.
So we also have a comment from Nathaniel Snider from Florida. Heading out to a meet and greet and getting hyped up listening to my favorite dynamic duo over internet stream waves. Yeah, Snyder had a campaign fundraiser this weekend as well with Mike Trematt. There was a lot of things going on in Florida this weekend. So the LNC had a meeting down in Miami. I was going to go to that. And then at the last minute, I was like, no, I'm not. I'm just not. And so Nathaniel Snider had a fundraiser in Tampa, and I just I hate showing up to a fundraiser and not being able to put some funds in the pockets. And I apologize, Nathaniel, for not showing up, but I just didn't have the funds for it. Like, we were running on fumes in my campaign, and like, I'm not going to go and eat your snacks and not at least give you $50. Like, that's just me. And right now I'm at a point in the campaign where, like, you know, especially this weekend, that $50, that's 2 tanks of gas.
You can put gas and get you somewhere that you need to talk. I got to go to Frederick in 2 weeks, and I'm all over this darn state. So, by the way, if you want me to come visit you, I'm willing. All over the organization. I don't care if you're celebrating Diwali or Eid or whatever the heck you're celebrating. I want to come hang out with you.
Yeah. So, Mr. Simpson.
Yeah, Florida has been very busy this weekend with the LNC coming to Miami. Nathaniel Snider. We've got a lot of good candidates, Joe Hanoush being one of them. I think we'll all be together this weekend, actually, at a forum on Saturday.
Where in Florida?
It's in
Lake Helen
County. I think it's in Lake Helen.
Helen. It's on. Oh goodness, I
have no idea where Lake Helen is. I know where Port Charlotte is. I don't know where Lake Helen is.
It's just outside of the land area.
Okay.
But yeah, Joe will be there. He's also running for Florida House. Matt Johnson is putting it together. He's also running. So between the three of us, I think they've split Volusia County into 4 for some reason, but we've got like 90% of it covered between the three of us. I do take a little bit of Volusia, Northern Lake County, and East Marion, and I think there may even be a little bit of a sliver of another county. It's weird the way they break these things up. You think you get a county representative, that's your guy, but somehow they split everybody up.
It doesn't make sense to us because we're not a Republican or a Democrat. But to Republicans and Democrats, it totally makes sense to like have one neighbor in one district and just across the street in another district, and the neighbor of that person across the street is back in that same district that the neighbor was. Yeah,
because it's politicians choosing voters. They have the power. They make it so they're most likely to get reelected, and the buffoonery continues. It's gerrymandering.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, we got another comment. Hold on. This is a good one. So, Cyrex, I can't say Cyrexes. I know who this is. This is Jeremy Flicken. Jeremy Flicken up in Kentucky. He says he went to school in Florida back in the elementary and middle school. So we do got Florida school people here in the audience listening in. And so we're getting we got 8 more minutes. 8 more minutes before we got the presidential campaign. I
got another campaign photo. This is from a couple weeks ago.
That's a good bag.
That's how I campaign, by the way. I go to the beach occasionally, and Talk
I
to
do
folks
too.
up and down the beach at the bars and hand out.
There you go.
I love Ocean City. If I'm going to be doing stuff door to door and handing crap out, I'm going to go someplace fun that I enjoy it. That's why I appreciated it when you said Florida was paradise. I enjoy going places that are nice and meeting cool people. Going door to door to me is drudgery. I hate doing it. If I was a rep, I'd probably do it. But as a Senate nominee, I can't hit all the doors. So, I'm going to hit the people where they're out having fun, not, at home in their undies.
Right. Yeah, if you come out to socialize, you should be ready to talk. So if you're out at a bar or something, that's the best place to go talk and meet people. You may get some people that are a little offsetting and off-putting, but you just move on to the next one. You can't win them all. But again, I think that libertarian values and ideas win.
Just like the clubs, putting cards and bills on the a busy restaurant, just put them on all the windshields. I mean, I'm trying to get the word out. Anything's possible.
Yeah, I did a thirst trap this weekend. Did not work out. It did not work out. I mean, it got maybe 30 likes across all the platforms. I tried though. And you know what else I did? I posted, I put it in the comments section of a couple of posts that Elon Musk did, Edward Snowden did. And that's the key is if we're putting the stuff in where, as long as it gets a little bit of movement in the comments section of somebody that's got hundreds of thousands of viewers on their social media. If we just put these quick little memes, these little attention grabbers, we're going to start moving the needle towards us more. I think, at least. I mean, it can only help us at this point.
People have to start being more wed to the truth than they are to their position, their party, or their opinion. Once the truth is shown, they should be able to move towards it. I thought everybody was like that. I am incorrect. That is incorrect.
Last week, we talked a little bit about how people were appearance shaming you and your necklace on the Libertarian National Party's platform in the comments section. And this week, they started attacking Luna.
Laguya.
Yeah. So she is a beautiful woman. And honestly, I looked at her picture. There's nothing wrong with her picture. There's nothing. It doesn't even look that goth. Honestly,
well, she dresses very Victorian. It's more Victorian with mostly dark stuff than goth. But still, it's elegant.
The point is, there are so many haters on that page. And with your permission, dear sister in liberty, I will bomb attack those trolls with my own trolling, and I ain't got nothing but time on my hands, and I will take pleasure in it because those people are idiots. They were not on my post saying anything positive either. These people are just jerks, and they're dumb. But at the same time, I do understand that for some reason, libertarians seem to think that any and all attention is good attention, and that's not necessarily the truth, right?
Some of it hurts your feelings.
Views, yes, just because you get views does not mean it is resonating with people. In fact, you can turn people away, and that's the reality. Is more people will react to negativity and things that affect them negatively than they will to something positive. And give me permission. I'm going on them. I mean, I got nothing but time. Nothing but time. I will sit there.
Yeah, it's an uphill battle for libertarians. We know that the algorithms on social medias have been skewed, to bring up what they want to try to promote and then suppress anything like libertarian values. Anybody that's third party. So we can't get mainstream media attention. You can't get grassroots social media attention. I mean, we're literally out here trying to soapbox these people. And then sometimes I feel like I might as well put on a tinfoil hat.
But that's the thing.
Some of the stuff you say about, again, we should really either reform or just completely abolish the Department of Education and come at it from a new angle. And people go, oh, my goodness. And it's like, well, again, defend it. Please tell me why we shouldn't. And they don't have a reason why, but they still pearl clutch. They still get upset for you saying it. They don't want to rock the boat. It's just we're going to keep going down the same path because that's what we're comfortable with.
Joe, do not stop sharing campus stuff. Don't stop.
You're saying
double
that's
down. Double down. Double it. Rerun that shit. Rerun them. Just
What you said was very important, by the way. You said they don't have a reason for what they're doing. I have a reason why I would shut down the Department of Education. My reason is this: PG County Public Schools is a $2.5 billion or so operation, and that's what they're getting.
Yeah,
that's what we're getting out of this. And I mean, pardon my language, but holy shit, less than 50% reading. Holy crap. And this is $2.5 billion a year. And then Maryland also has a Department of Education. And each state has one, each county, most cities. How many of those damn things do we need? They have some level of school district or Department of Education. Nationally, we may just need, what, standards? That's 15 people in a room, choose them from the states, pay for their ticket to DC. That's 10 G's at most. Leave me alone.
all right.
Why another
All
one doing this?
All right, folks. We're coming up. It's almost time for the presidential update. I'm going to give you, Mr. Simpson, the solo spotlight. Give your final elevator speech.
And thank you for running, man.
Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for running. So give your final elevator speech, and then we're going to cut to commercial, and then we're going to straight into the Chase Oliver update, okay?
The answer to why should they vote for you?
You can vote for me because I'm going to do what libertarians do. We're going to shrink government. We're going to try to save you money on taxes. Any programs that don't seem like they're necessary, we're going to just get rid of them. We're going to rethink things from a completely new set of viewpoints instead of just doing the same old, same old. The left keeps going as far left as they can. The conservatives follow them and negotiate, compromise, and then they end up over here. The left keeps going left. The Republicans and the conservatives just keep following that path, which is why the whole thing is turning socialist, authoritarian. It's getting pretty rough. And if we don't start doing something outside of this two-party system, we're going to lose all of our freedoms. So hold your people responsible. If you elect them, hold their feet over the fire. Don't just go, well, they're a Republican and they probably did it for a good reason. We're not going to do better by allowing people to take advantage of us. This is the most un-American thing I've seen in a long time. The things that I say about reducing taxes, again, they may be viewed as extremists, but they used to be the most American values that we hold dear.
Thank you. Thank you. Mike Simpson, Libertarian for Florida State Representative District 27.
A record number of Americans favor a new political party.
57% of Americans still believe a third major political party is necessary.
Voting third party is a wasted vote? Bullshit. This is the establishment's most successful lie in modern politics. America is the only major country with free elections to only have two viable options. Not anymore. The Libertarian Party is the fastest growing political party in America and will be on the ballot in all 50 states. And when we talk about winning, we don't just mean winning the White House. There's all kinds of wins you can have in your state if you vote Libertarian today. We can win ballot access that makes it easier for future candidates to run for office. We can win major party status that gives us more attention from the major media.
I think it's a great day to be a Libertarian.
And we could have Libertarians getting elected all over the country in local races. Whenever Libertarian candidates are able to break through the mainstream media blackout, our support grows. In my televised debate with Senator Raphael Warnock, I was able to reach out to millions of voters. Many of them realized that they were Libertarian all along and just didn't know it.
Why is that the radical idea, not the rational idea?
If you live in a solid blue or a solid red state, voting for Trump or Biden is a wasted vote, and it won't change the outcome. Voting Libertarian is the only way to make your vote truly count. Currently, all the two major parties have to do is be slightly less evil than the other side to win. Let's make the statement that we will accept no evil. When someone tells you you're wasting your vote, recognize that they don't care about you. It's a selfish statement. They are saying that your beliefs aren't worth being represented, that you should silence your voice so theirs can be louder. Vote your conscience, not someone else's politics. Breaking up the duopoly is the only chance for the real radical change needed to give the power back to you, the people. Voting for Chase Oliver for president will contribute to bringing more choices into our political system. A successful third party forces the two old parties to think about the issues Americans truly care about. Keep them honest. Show them they must earn your vote. Change begins at the grassroots.
I'm Chase Oliver, a candidate for president, and I approve this message.
All right, Amber, welcome.
Hey, I'm very white today.
Yes, ma'am. You are very Caucasian. Very Caucasian.
I'm white all the time,
But we love you for that, baby. It's okay. It is okay. Be proud of that too. It's fine.
It's very sunny outside. Maybe that's why. All right. So we had a lot going on. Chase went to Ohio, had a really good turnout, and Mike went to Iowa and then Florida. So we got some pictures. Start with Mike. He had attended an LNC meeting, and then they did a fundraiser after. So, and where they raffled off a chainsaw signed by Chase.
Ooh, who won that?
I'm not sure. The whole idea that Angela had behind it was to like saw through the tax code, which is like 9,000 billion pages long.
So I'm gonna do a commercial coming soon, and I don't have a chainsaw, but I will be cutting things. Folks, I have a machete. That's just that's me. This is Florida, baby. This is Florida. But if I'd gone to the LNC meeting, that's one thing that I was looking forward to possibly bidding on, because I think that's really cool. And I've had a couple of folks actually request that I do a video of me with a chainsaw, and it's just not really my method personally. I don't really like loud noises. So
you want a sword? I got several.
I've got a machete. I have my own machete. It is my campaign machete. I might put some stickers on it or something. I don't know.
I love that you have a campaign machete.
I mean, I gotta brand it up, you know. I gotta brand it up. Okay, next picture.
I can dig it. Let's see, there's another one. And then Chase was in Ohio. He was touring a manufacturing plant in that picture, or logistics plant. So he did a tour, and then here's some photos of some of the meet and greets.
Can you go back one photo? Back to the tour. That is a great campaign photo. That is what you expect to see your presidential candidate doing, is touring the industries that are in the states that are that he's he's going to, speaking with industry leaders and figuring out how we can get them to be more prosperous in the libertarian way by getting the government out of their business model. So that's a great photo. I'm totally I'm fangirling over this photo. It's amazing.
Got some more Ohio, lots of Ohio.
Ohio's deep. Look at that.
Yeah. They had lots of time to plan. So there's a photo of
Chasing Liberty shirt. I like that. Chasing Liberty.
And
Chasing Liberty, chase your dreams.
Shout out to Zach for coordinating all of the trip and most of the media. It was great. We had a great Ohio swing. More Ohio.
Oh, look at that. Is that Spike Cohen there?
Yeah. Gained a few pounds.
Hey, no shame in there. No shame in there.
I'm not.
But you know what? Spike he's a very thin man. He is a thin man.
He is. I think this is Toledo Pride. And then Chase got to Minnesota. Did the state fair there. So the last couple of pictures I have are from there. And then he got to do Garage Logic podcast at the fair, which was cool. And then this morning, we did C-SPAN. I just have
Those are some big chairs. Go back to that picture. That's some big chairs. Let's put some perspective. Chase Oliver is not a short man. Chase is definitely taller than me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a tall woman, but those chairs make him
schools, the tall bar.
Yeah. So I have to just tell folks, Chase is not short.
He's not Lilliputian.
I think those are bar chairs. So we did C-SPAN, which was cool because callers got to actually call in and ask questions. We got all kinds of questions from Democrats, Republicans, independents, and libertarians. So that was good. He did a really good.
Were they mostly welcoming and receptive, or were they combative?
Some of them were. There was one lady who was part Jewish who got a little upset about she's just saying to end the whole thing, but that's our stance. So.
Yeah. Okay.
You're not doing good unless you got haters. We've established that on this episode.
And then we did some local news with ABC 13. And then I found this one, which came out of last week's Forbes interview. So someone did a little clip over that. It says Libertarian Party presidential nominee Chase Oliver appeared on Forbes Newsroom Thursday in part to discuss independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s potential withdrawal from the 2024 race. If you are a candidate running outside the two-party system and you're worried about being a so-called spoiler, you probably shouldn't have been running in the first place, said Oliver. And then
Amen.
Kennedy had
that's the gospel right there.
Yeah, it was. But that's all I got.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess the big news this weekend on the presidential race was, Kamala Harris officially getting the DNC nomination, but also the really big news was RFK dropping out. And what?
No, he didn't drop out. He did this mealy mouth, weird kind of drop out thing so that he could spoil in some states and not spoil in others.
Oh, that's the worm talking.
And he joined up with Trump and them to attract the liberals who are a little liberty leaning and may go, oh my God, Trump must be the real thing because he's got old school Democrats going. It's all theater to control the masses.
In the theme of our subject today, which is the education system and the children, he did bring up something that I like to harp on a lot, and that's how the FDA, the food guide pyramid, kids. Do not go by the food guide pyramid. 12 slices of bread will make you fat and diabetic. I'm going to tell you that right now.
There is a thing in white bread that causes diabetes, a chemical that causes it in laboratory mice.
So if you instead go for 12 vegetables a day, 12 servings, and don't even call them servings, but just like I have a niece, and when she was younger, she kind of refused to eat anything other than like plain pasta and chicken nuggets. And I'm sure folks out there can relate to this. And her mom would always be like, you got to eat, you need to eat more, eat, and just wanting to feed them. And I talked to her and why she doesn't want to eat. And she said she doesn't want to get fat and she doesn't want to get unhealthy. And so I told her, okay, well, there's ways that you can still be healthy and eat and not eat so much. And I introduced her to olives. I introduced her to broccoli. I introduced her to crab legs. And listen what I told her. I said, listen, you get the crab legs because it takes a long time to eat and they're expensive. So no one's going to make you get more. They're going to be happy that you got the smaller portion. It's going to take you a long time to eat them. It's not a lot of calories, and you can still get the nutrition that you need. And with things like olives, no one's going to expect you to eat a whole plate of olives. You can eat one or two and be like, this is a vegetable. This is, you're still getting the nutrition from that. No one's going to shame you into eating more vegetables as long as you're eating some of them. And if you get, if you
eating more
vegetables in a whole day, that's the lettuce on your burger. That's the onion on your burger. That's the tomato on your burger. So there's 3 right there in one sandwich. There's different ways that you can get these vegetables into you without doing the 12 slices of bread, food guide pyramid. You don't have to do that. Please don't do that. It's detrimental to your health.
Meat, vegetables, fruit, seeds, nuts. Go paleo. It's easier if you don't know what you're doing. Go keto, go paleo. They got a lot of guides. It'll help you out. Or Mediterranean.
So Amber, where's Chase at this week?
Chase is in Minnesota. He was there yesterday and today. He'll come and then he'll be there tomorrow and then he's coming home tomorrow. And then he is spending time with family because his mom's birthday.
Happy birthday, Chase's mom.
Happy birthday, Chase's mom.
So, but then we're going to do some content next week, and we're not doing a whole lot of travel next week, but we'll have.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw that he's posted that he's going to be making new commercials. I saw that. I want that.
How can you see my calendar? Where are you getting your information?
The internet, baby.
But yeah, we are going to go up to Tennessee. That is where our videographer lives. So Chase is going to do some shots up there.
Who's he going with?
He's just going by himself.
No. Who's his videographer?
Austin. I'm so bad with names, y'all. Hang on.
Okay.
I'll get Austin's last name. Austin Tudor.
Well, I was just curious because I know that a lot of folks were like floating like Dan Smoots and I know that there's a lot of videographers out there. There's a lot of content creators. And if you're looking for folks to do graphics, to do videos, my number one recommendation is to check out Libertarians Who Make Art. Those folks, they are artists. They are in the Libertarian sphere. It isn't just one. I'm obviously not available for stuff because I've got a whole lot of stuff on my own plate to do. But there's plenty of folks out there. And the thing is with videographers, there's a maximum amount of stuff that we can do. We can't do everything. And that's why I say I'm off the ticket. I'm like, don't call me asking for a video. I'm bogged down. I've got a campaign and all this, and I've got my own videos I got to do right now.
One thing
there's
that
people
gets
that are out there that want to help. Mm-hmm.
Before you leave, the fact that I heard Joe Biden ripped out Robert Kennedy's Secret Service, he said he doesn't get him anymore. I don't think they've ever offered Chase Oliver Secret Service protection, have they? And he's got lots of haters. How do we make that happen? Who do we need to call? Who do we need to pressure for that? Because that seems unfair.
I guess it would be Biden currently.
You want me to make a phone call?
I'll call
Uncle Joe. What are you doing, man?
I kind of thought like Mike Trematt would be kind of like Chase's bodyguard a little bit.
We do have we do have a bodyguard, Jax Crowder.
Good.
So
that's good. I mean, if we're talking fair and equal, and if we're a viable third party, they should start treating us as a third party. But they won't, because 2/3 of people want a third party and they don't want us legitimized. Mm-hmm. And honestly and truly, we're the only ones who are legit because we're the only ones that represent we the people.
Yep.
Too legit to quit.
Something they're going to throw around a lot. That was a big thing in Georgia because Stein and West got pulled off the ticket.
All right. Well, I think we're at a point where we need to go on to our next guest. Amber, it's always a pleasure to have you on. Thank you for coming on.
I have to show one thing because Six said how to pronounce his name. He spelled six wrong, and he said it's six minus the heiress. In other words, the heiress is silent. I'm sure that's what he meant right there. But libertarian.
I think he said size heiress.
I figured that. I'm joking. Yeah. I like six better.
Okay. Well, Amber, thank you again for coming on. I have one more question for you. And this is like long game, right? Not really super long game, but do we have a where Chase is going to be for election night? Do we have that plan in the works yet?
We have it in the works. It's not solid. I'll make sure I
state.
We are not yet.
What are we looking at?
What's our options? Georgia, Tennessee, or Texas.
Okay. Because I want to be there. And Mike and I were just talking before the show about having Chase on again. And I told him wherever Chase is on election night, I want to be there. And I was thinking that would be a good day to have Chase back on again, is on election day, if that's possible, because election day is on Tuesday. So let me know as soon as possible where I need to get traveling to.
We will. I will find out, and I'll let you know.
All right.
And for all
Thank
you people
Amber.
early voting, that stuff's coming out soon. Early voting. So vote chaseoliver.com. Thanks,
All right.
Amber.
All right.
Thank
Bye, guys.
you.
See you next.
I'm honored to be the first Libertarian candidate for president to ever campaign in all 50 states, and I did it before our nomination. This kind of energy sends a clear signal to the old two-party system that we are a 50-state party and this is a 50-state campaign. Voters deserve a president who doesn't merely focus on a handful of swing states, and the Libertarians will be on the ballot for those voters who want to reject the two-party mediocrity and embrace building a foundation that will last for years to come.
All right, folks. Now, last night on SSDD, I said we were going to have Allen Broadus on, but today we, due to a scheduling conflict, he's not available today. Instead, we have a very special guest, probably one of the most anticipated candidates this election cycle for the Libertarians. And this, I can't say enough good things about this guy. He's well-spoken, very poised. He's got a lot of good messages. So please welcome to the stage, Michael White.
Not left, not right, just free. Michael White.
Yeah, Michael White from Arkansas. Hello.
Yeah,
Michael.
thank you so much. That was very, very nice things said about me, Feena. Appreciate that. Yeah, I left not right. That was a previous campaign slogan, Mike. So I'm glad you remembered it or knew it. That's awesome.
So, Mike, I'm going to give you the solo. And if you could tell us what you're running for and where that's at, what the issues are, and, you know, your 2-minute elevator speech, and go.
Yeah. So libertarians across the nation, I think we're pretty well aware that most of our campaigning and electioneering is essentially sort of evangelical work, right? We're talking about liberty to people. We're spreading the message of liberty. We're hoping to move the Overton window on issues. And, you know, we were the first to sort of talk about, you know, cannabis legalization, you know, marriage equality, these sort of things. And so we've been very, I think, effective at doing that, at occupying hearts and minds. But when it comes to occupying office, we haven't been super effective at that. And there's really a number of reasons, and we could probably spend an entire, you know, month dissecting why we think that that hasn't happened. And, you know, Mike has hit on some points there too. I mean, of course, there's some party issues at play. There's some funding issues at play. Of course, there's moats and embargoes against ballot access in many states. I'm sure that anyone listening to this probably has that exact same thing happening in their state. And so when it comes to winning offices, we tend to win local elections, school board, city council, those sort of things. In the past, you know, I guess since the inception of the party officially, there's been 5 times in history where a libertarian running as a libertarian has occupied a state legislature seat. The most recent was 4 years ago. And we have that opportunity here in Arkansas in this election. And so when I tell people that this is the most winnable race for a libertarian in the country in 2024, I don't mean just from all the elections. I mean from state legislature and higher. Some unique circumstances led to that. And I know that that claim is met with a lot of skepticism. People say all the time I can win, but let me sort of paint the picture for you. This is West Little Rock, Arkansas, Central Arkansas. The district number is 75 for anybody that cares. It was previously district number 32. It was usually a very slightly Republican district historically. Roughly 14 to 15,000 people will vote in this election. In 2020, the district was flipped to Democrat from a Republican in a 2-way election, and she won that seat by a total of 24 votes. That's how tight the district is. It's called the Purple District, and everyone in the legislature knows it as that. And so the margins are insanely slim. And so every modeling that we have, all the data that we have, everything that we have says this is within the margin of error. And so we have a real chance there to actually occupy an office. And I think, and Mike, and do so without having to void our principles, our sellout to special interest. Our campaign has been solely funded by individuals. We have turned down every dollar of special interest money we've been offered because we don't want to have those sort of moral hazards present. And so, this is not just a big race for individuals in my district in West Little Rock. This is not just an interesting race for Arkansans in general. I think that this is an interesting race for libertarians nationwide because we talk about the viability of liberty and the practicality of liberty. You'll find that that's usually those two subjects are really the hurdle to selling liberty to the masses. Sit down with the so-called normies at dinner and tell them you're a libertarian, and you'll tend to get a number of responses. And one of them is, you can't win, you're pie in the sky, you're too idealistic. And practical liberty, I think, is maybe sort of the underappreciated side of libertarianism, and something that we can really begin to build a future and a foundation on. This is what it looks like when libertarians win. This is how we win. And these are the benefits, the net benefits that occur when libertarians not just occupy hearts and minds, but occupy offices. And so, that's me in a nutshell. That's this election in a nutshell. And again, thanks for having me on here, Feena. I think you are muted.
Yes, free bingo. Everyone gets that spot. Feena's muted on the mic. Okay.
I'm assuming you do this.
You retweeted your thing that says a two-way race, Libertarian versus Democrat, a winnable election. History will be made, be part of it.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
I just reposted that.
Well, I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much. That means a lot. I like the haircut too, by the way. So
thank you.
Same name, same haircut. Well, that's
why I was looking in the mirror, man.
That's right. Yeah.
Long hair don't care.
There you go. Yeah.
The yin and the yang on display right now. So, Mike, tell us a little bit how you came to find libertarianism and how it's affected your outlook and philosophy of how you're running for office in Arkansas.
Okay, how did I find libertarianism? I think, that's always an interesting story, right? Because it sort of goes towards motivations, ideals, and life. In 2006, I opened my first business. I was 24 years old. And through, I guess, hard work and luck and readiness meeting opportunity, I was able to open a wireless retail store. I sold Alltel Wireless. It became Verizon Wireless. And I opened that my first one in 2006. And I built that company over the next 10 years to a multi-state enterprise, running across Texas, Louisiana, and so forth. And that first year of business, where I, was in business for myself and working for myself and making a payroll, as a 24-year-old kid, part of the 9/11 generation. I graduated high school in 2000. I was 19 when the towers fell. My buddies are, off in, Iraq and Afghanistan in wars that don't make sense, for reasons that don't make sense, right? And I realized very quickly that I had some challenges in business to be successful. One, I had to market myself well. Two, I had to watch, the monetary opportunities, very, very tightly. I had to hire really good people. I had to have good locations. I had to have all these things. And then I realized my biggest challenge that I couldn't really control was government coercion and interference in my life and the life of my employees and customers. And it seemed like every time I turned around, they were there with their hand out, behind a gun and a badge, right? Extorting something from my business, claiming that it's for my net benefit. And they never really were. They were just, again, always a hurdle and an issue. And I think that was probably like the genesis of that beginning to start. Now, shortly after that, of course, we get the Tea Party movement. Ron Paul comes into play at this point in time. And I think it was around that time that I really began to question what the proper role of government in a free society is supposed to be. And I think that is a question that everyone probably should ask themselves, when they're beginning to run for office. What do you think the proper role of government is? Do you think there should be no government? Do you think that we should have, I'm a minarchist, the minimum amount of government, courts, military, that kind of thing. Do you think it's supposed to level the playing field, choose winners and losers, whatever it is? And so I realized then that whatever the proper role of government is supposed to be, It's certainly not what we have today, right? I mean, so I think that that's at least something we can get some buy-in on, is that. And as I continued through business and enterprise, again, those beliefs just became more and more solidified. Began meeting like-minded individuals. I sold my company in 2016 because it was a good year for business. My business was worth more than it was going to be worth, and sort of semi-retired. And at that point in time, I had a lot more time to sort of think about things and do things that were more proactive and voluntary in nature. Spent a lot of time, helping people, giving away money, doing things like that. And then 2020, my wife and I moved to Arkansas. We'd had some property in Arkansas, been coming to Arkansas my whole life. And of course, COVID hit, right? And I think we all remember that Liberty felt like it was on life support. Like all these things that I thought were never going to be taken for granted, all of a sudden were. And I know all of you on this in the chat and here, Mike and Fina, I know that you think like me. Y'all were already predicting the next step, right? Like as soon as 14 days came out, you knew it wasn't going to be 14 days, right? We knew that. Other people didn't know that. And we're screaming at our television and we're like, no, this is the worst thing you're going to do. Oh, it's going to be fine. And then when, mandates begin to come out, we're like, guys, this is going to get to where people are going to lose their jobs if they don't do this. And that's never going to happen, right? And so you start to get to a place where it gets real scary. I mean, you can get to a place where those kind of things become like, oh, this is how Nazi Germany got to where it was. Go ahead, Mike. Yes.
I'm an old man, so I came up in the, I'm Gen X, born in 72. Yep. So I'm rolling through. And in the 80s, we used to make fun of places where you had to show your papers. Oh, we got to show our papers? Oh, yeah. I'm free. This is America.
That's right. Yeah.
COVID passports didn't scare people near enough, dude. They didn't.
No, I think, yeah. And again, you
hit it on the head.
It prefigures this issue. I think, again, a common question, if you visit, I don't know, I haven't been in 7th grade in a long time, but I remember 7th grade history class, world history. And one of the common refrains when you read the Diary of Anne Frank is everybody goes, how did this happen? How did a government come and the people were like, hey, let's just kill all these people and do all this, and we're complicit in it. And that's how it happened. Right, Mike? You scare people, and slowly enough, you get them bought into this idea of us against them.
You get them fighting for it. It's not just you scare them. You got folks legitimately saying, if you don't take this, you should be killed, or you should be left out to die, or you have them fighting for their own enslavement, and you never get the power back.
100%. And so, libertarians like us know the dangers of government. We know that the most dangerous force in the world is government. And other people maybe don't know that. And so, again, a large part of what we do, I think, as libertarians is try to carry that message. But what's interesting is that's been a really powerful and positive message practically here on a campaign trail in a viable election. We're about 3,000 doors knocked. I've talked to, I don't know how many voters at this point in time. And when we have that conversation about, again, the proper role of government, the dangers of government, you see the light bulbs come on. People are willing to digest this message if it's presented in the correct way. Of course, there's always some people that you're not going to be able to sell. But I think I saw the other day someone posted that, government is more dangerous than fentanyl. And that's true. It absolutely 100%. Is. Right. And here's where I am with things, and where you could take this, please, because I believe that we swim in a sea of ideas. If you're talking to somebody, maybe you call them a statist, a normie, whatever, and you simply ask them, say, would you agree that there's some level of where there's too much government? Would you believe there's some level? And everyone 100% almost unanimously will say, yeah, well, there's some level where it's too much. And you simply say, look, I'm just one of those people that believes we're already there. And we've been there for quite some time. And, so you don't have to hate me or think I'm extreme because I want you to live your life as you want to live it, so long as you aren't hurting anyone. You don't have to think I'm extreme because I believe that we should have a more voluntary method of funding the good things that we want. You don't have to hate me and think I'm extreme because I believe that ultimately you own yourself and you should. We just have a difference of opinion of where government became excessive. And I am on this side of the line and you still believe it's on this side. Let's talk about that. Let's meet people where they are. And that's how we sell liberty, and we sell it practically.
I think they also believe in the benevolence of government, whereas I think people are bastard-coded bastards with bastard filling. And I'm trying to believe that they're not, because I'm trying to I'm trying to do all the right things nowadays, right? I'm trying to be saved. I'm trying to act smart, but
There you go.
I don't
Yep.
trust people, and they have too much power, and we keep granting it to them, and they keep proving to us they're not using it right. So why do we keep doing the same thing? That's where I am in this conversation. I think you're one past
Yeah.
that. where
Yeah,
you're
I mean,
seeing
no,
folks that
I'm
believe
with you. No, it's an interesting thing to ask, like, where does the idea of the hero come from, right?
Yeah.
And everybody wants a hero. Nobody wants to be the hero. Everybody wants to be able to sort of delegate that responsibility to somebody else. And yes, I mean, like we say on one hand, oh, people are inevitably they're flawed. They can do this, they can do that. But now let's give them a monopoly on force and violence and expect it to have really great outcomes. Of
Mhm.
course, it's not going to have really great outcomes. And so, I got the opportunity to talk to a group of young people, a college class, and we were talking about limited government. And I said, well, first off, I don't think anybody here is for unlimited government, right? I mean, so obviously everyone's for limited government, I would assume. And we started talking about the concept of good governance, right? And like someone said, well, what's a good government? And I was like, well, when you come to realize that, again, governments are made of people and people are inherently flawed, and they will always in some way serve their own self-interest, even in methods that may not be beneficial to you, you will realize there's no good or bad government. There's either small, large, or non-existent. And you need to find where you fit into one of those categories. And again, that's people eyes will go, oh, wow, you're right. And so, like, again, it's a group of young people. And I know that they probably are a little more on the sort of leftist end of the political spectrum, the spectrum that we luckily are off of. We don't even exist on, right?
Yeah.
And I could tell they probably didn't, like a certain candidate. And I sort of stole that spikeism that I love from him, which is, what think of a government program you think would be just great. And now imagine who's a candidate you hate more than anybody, and think about him right now. You see him in your head. Now he's running it. Do you like that idea? And of course, they don't like that idea. So yeah, that's kind of where I am. I think, Mike, you're right there. I know Fina's there. So I mean, yeah.
I appreciate you running, and I think of I think of all the libertarians as heroes, because we're trying to shrink government into an oppressed people. And if you look at your tax statement, I don't care who you are, white, black, indifferent,
right,
you are an oppressed person in America. To the oppressed, limited government is as close as we get to freedom. I've been trying to give away food through this church program.
Nice.
I was talking to For My City Too, a guy in Baltimore with a food bank, and he said just what you said. Government regulation has stopped him from giving away more food, feeding more people, and the church won't even get into certain foods because the refrigeration and the requirements and it's just too much. Government is an impediment to feeding people.
Right. I mean, government by its nature, again, can't create anything because it has nothing of its own. So it's an illusion. It's a mirage that it somehow creates anything. And all it can create is barriers and borders, and that's it. Again, I think hopefully you would agree. I think the proper role is to be an ultimate arbiter in the court system, and there may be a few things else that government can do, but everything else I think that we do better than government does. And interestingly enough, we talk about the issue of faith. You talk about the issue of churches and faith organizations in America. Not to go off on this tangent, but let's do it. All right, let's go off on this tangent. All right.
This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice,
and be glad in it. That's right. That's right. So,
go on the tangent. Go.
Yeah, we often talk about as Christians why the church has lost power. We think that, and I don't mean power as in like the sort of European Catholicity of power, like where the Pope is the ultimate authority over everything. I mean that the faith community has lost sort of power and influence in communities over lives and standards and livelihoods and these sort of things. And the reason why I think is because we've relegated all these spiritual duties to the state. We no longer have to feed the poor. We can just forcibly extract labor from other people that we think have more than us. And we can hopefully then create a bureaucracy and a secretary and administration, and then we can make them do it. And we no longer have to heal the sick or take care, run charity hospitals. We can, again, forcibly extract the labor and resources of other people that we think have more than us. And we can create a bureaucracy, and through a gun and a badge, make other people do it. And we've done this, and you would think, well, that's great, right? We're accomplishing all these really Christian things. But the truth is that the edification of faith happens through your own personal voluntary works. And so when you've removed all of these sort of spiritual weights from the weight room, and none of us are doing any heavy lifting anymore, it's no wonder that we're so weak. And it's no coincidence, I believe, that as we've grown the state, that the church and church attendance has shrunk.
I always figured it was because people were, and I know I was more beholden to chasing flesh, whatever that next pleasure was, whatever I was chasing. It doesn't matter what it was. I was always more interested in that than doing what I was supposed to be doing in my community or whatever else. And since I was working for the state and they were telling me, hey, you're doing a good job, and I was progressing, I just thought I was doing the right things.
Yeah.
And I'd never been more disconnected, and I'd never been more wrong. So
yeah. I'm still pretty good at chasing flesh and doing all the bad things, man. I have my, I
got my days.
That's my natural tendency, to be honest.
That's all of our natural tendencies.
Yeah, exactly. I have to work at the other thing, but yeah, I mean, that's, I think that, we talk about the creation of these, government programs and the sort of umbrella of government, that from cradle to grave at this point in time. And Mike, you hit on the head. When you look at somebody, especially maybe an older generation, and you say, is America a free country? Oh yeah, we're a free country. You are not free. You do not own your labor in this country. In most states, you do not own your property. You do not own your house, your car. You don't own your body. You don't own your mind. You don't own anything. And even the stuff you get to keep after they've taken it forcibly from you, they continue to devalue it. So you don't even get to keep the things you get to keep. You're not free.
Not free at all.
I have a friend of mine who I love this saying. He says, at some point in time, we went from a country where 1/3 of people were 100% slaves to where 100% of people were 1/3 slaves. Wow. And I mean, I was like, yeah, dude, I can't lie about that one. I mean, so yeah, I mean, like can't argue with it. So yeah.
That's deep. Say that one more time and put them up on the screen solo so we can say we went from 1/3 of the people. Oh my God, that hit me. Oh God.
So again, at some point in time, we went from where 1/3 of the people were 100% slaves to where 100% of the people are 1/3 slaves. I hope I said it well on the second chance there. So I don't like being put on the spot. But yeah, that was a transition. I mean, and I think that's true. I mean, again, at a certain level of income, of course, you're compelled and compulsory. The entire banking system has, sort of inverted the incentives behind savings and investment. It's created these giant monopolies.
We're living in debt instead of savings.
It's a version of privatized communism. It's a very weird thing. We're kind of getting the worst of both worlds, right?
And it's compassionate authoritarianism. I forget who coined that silly phrase, but you can only beat the heck out of me so much, so I have to pay all this stuff. And then I get it. I want to pay for it, but I heard a number, and I'm offended not by doing things for people. I'm all for that half the time. I really, truly am. I want people fed. I want people housed. I don't care if they're illegal. I think people should be cared for. However, I heard a number where 23 cents out of every dollar going into the welfare system got to the people who need it. I'm offended by the inefficiency. I'm offended by not only the amount taken, but how inefficiently it's used and how irrespective of how much money these jerks get in, their answer is always, give me more, give me more, give me more.
That's always, that's always the sell, is that this is some sort of benefit to people. And clearly it's not. And, it's interesting. You'll find people, disgusted with some issue in government. Like, I'm going to pick, like, for instance, pick on, let's say in the Democrat Party right now, there's quite a divide about how, well, everyone really, about how the situation in Israel is being handled. But it's particularly in the Democrat Party right now on a national stage, that's like a talking point of, what their national policy and sort of front-facing image is supposed to be. And you'll find people on both sides of that argument. And so, for instance, if you fall on the side of, hey, this is the Palestinians are being, harmed and this sort of stuff, I'm like, well, you're being compelled to pay for that, right? Like, why wouldn't you want a more voluntary method of funding government? Why wouldn't you want a better way of just saying, you know what, I'm just not going to do the thing I need to do to pay you today. And I'm going to, and until you start acting right, because that's what you do with everything else in your life. Right.
But they already took the money first. So even if you don't file taxes, I mean, unless you have your own business, and then they'll come take your house.
That's right. I
swear to God.
You're never going to get out of paying taxes, because then you got the sales tax.
Yeah.
You got the gas tax.
But in the 60s or 70s, you used to be able to say, I'm a conscientious objector. I'm not paying for these wars. And then they changed that and took that out. because you don't get a voice. And when my aunt, nice, sweet little old baby boomer, goes up and says, yo, I don't like this stuff. Can we talk about it? They say, we'll get back to you. They ain't got back to her yet.
Yeah.
I got a meme.
You got a meme for that? I mean,
I do.
Consent is supposed to be something that is, instant. And yeah, there you go. Stop your bump. Stop. I'm speaking. You're right. Exactly.
I'm speaking. Excuse me. I'm speaking.
and that's a perfect example of kind of where I think that we are. And again, you can't expect any system that can operate without any consent and who is first in line to the productivity of every single American before your churches, your charities, your family. Like Mike just said, they get the money first. They're there first. You can't ever expect it to represent you correctly or work for you because it's never going to. There's no method of controlling it. Again, consent is supposed to be able to be instantly given and instantly taken back. That's what consent is. I can say, you know what? Yeah, doc, let's go ahead and fill this tooth. And then at any point in time, I can go, I'll tell you what, I'm getting out the chair. I don't like drills. We're done. Right?
Yes.
Government is like, your great-great-grandfather said you're getting a filling today. And if you don't, we're going to strap you in the chair. And then if you fight too much, we're going to shoot you. That's kind of where we've gotten today. Right.
And that, boys and girls, is why we say taxation is theft. Not because we don't believe that anything should be paid for, no taxes should be levied. The Constitution says you can levy taxes, and it's specific on how. But the Constitution was there to limit government, and we're no longer limiting government. We're no longer following the document, and we are living in evil times.
That's
and
right.
We need to stop.
Yeah. And I mean,
so we're gonna cut to a commercial real quick. We're gonna cut to a commercial, and then when we come back, we're gonna go over. We're gonna show your website off a little bit, and we'll talk some more about the education system.
I'm getting more coffee because I'm addicted to caffeine.
Sounds good. I'll see you guys on those.
This is the most important election to vote third party. This is our chance, Florida, to give America someone you can trust in the United States Senate. Let's give the U.S. Senate a libertarian from Florida with love. I'm Fina Bowan, and I approve this message.
All right, we're back.
We really need to get a gold rush going and bring all the senators, you know what I mean? Bring all the Senate nominees, all the House nominees together and go, one person, we can't do anything, but we're running as a block and we're ready to shock and we are down to do the job that needs to get done. We should say that, and then people would get it because it's not just one,
Oh, I'm on board with it. I think that, but we have to fight about like which caucus is right now, right? And we need to fight about like which bylaw we should change. We got to do that before we can ever unite about anything, right?
I'm still distracted because Beyonce was screaming freedom at Kamala Chameleon's freaking thing, and Steve Kerr, because I'm originally from Chicago, came out to the United Center one more time.
Yeah,
and then there was an Usher concert this weekend, and I'm still looking at a new whip. I got to go buy my next Mercedes or Tesla or whatever, so I can't possibly pay attention to something like politics.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you got too many other things going on, and that's also too. We'll go to the site in education in a second, but I really fundamentally believe that that's why a benefit to the ruling class is that they keep people broke and busy. They can't think about what's going on.
Living in survival, you can't.
I mean, yeah. I mean, like the situation in the Middle East is a problem for somebody that's not worrying about how they're going to pay their rent in 4 days.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got your website up. I love this picture of you, by the way. It's very, very classic. Black and white with a little bit of a silhouette, strong contrast. Very good. And it's still got your eyes in there popping, which is nice. What color eyes you got?
They're green.
Green eyes. Nice. I got green eyes too. All right, so let's make history. Volunteer sign. Request a sign. Do you have signs?
Yes, we do. We have tons of signs, but not in there. But you can request anything in there you want to. Yes. So
okay, cool. Let's see. On the issues, let's go to the issues real quick.
Yep.
Your priorities. Read the bills. Oh my gosh, if that could be priority 1 for every politician, we could save America. Follow the Arkansas Constitution and defend West Little Rock. Good. Operate with integrity and transparency. Very good. Protecting everyone's rights, uphold limited
It didn't
government.
come up on your screen, Fina.
Yeah, it's on there.
It's still on the main screen where
That way
says
it can
specific
be
history.
it can be a mystery for everybody. They can go to the website and read for themselves if they'd like
Yeah,
to.
they can read for themselves.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
mean, to cut to the chase, we're running a principal campaign again on the what the proper role of government is supposed to be. We there's not enough people in the legislature right now that are doing the things that they say they're supposed to do, right? Or that say they will do. We pass far too many pieces of legislation that no one reads. We pass far too many pieces of legislation that are for special interest only. There's never a focus on how something affects the individual. You essentially have two authoritarian voices arguing over which color authoritarianism there's going to be. And we just hope to temper that sort of process, because this ultimately is an election between a member of a minor party in the legislature or something different. And that's what we know we aim to be, is something different.
What I don't get is why people keep voting for establishment candidates and nominees, given that the only argument they have is who they're going to give your money to. Because both of them agree they're taking your money, and both of them agree to take your guns and everything else. So what do they disagree upon other than who to give your money to?
Mike, it's really interesting. It's so interesting. Like it's perfect. I mean, people, I think, they vote out of fear. There's so much fear in sort of the way people are making choices today. I cannot tell you the number of times that I've said, I'm running as a libertarian. They go, oh, I really would vote for a libertarian, but and I go, wait. I'm in a two-way race. And they go, oh, okay. And I'm like, but you always could have voted for me.
Always.
Right? Always.
I got a meme for that.
Yeah.
I got a meme for that too.
I posted that today. I said, all BS aside, all money aside, all news aside, the only thing that'll take for me to win Senate is for the people of Maryland to decide that I'm their guy because they agree with what I have to say. All it would take for you to win, for Feena to win, is for your respective constituents to go, wow, that dude sounds really logical and rational. That chick sounds really amazingly logical, and it sounds like freedom. I'm voting for them.
I mean, after 2022, after I ran for U.S. Congress, I had probably, I don't know how many messages people messaged me and said, oh, man, I wanted to vote for you so bad, but I was so scared that this was. And so we think as collectives in the voting booth, and then we wonder why we're not treated like individuals by government. And until we start changing that, I think as a culture and a society, we're going to get the same outcomes. But I'll tell you what, I'm noticing, especially I think the younger generation, I think the Gen Zers, the kind of older Gen Zers, I guess, I'm noticing that they're waking up to the statist illusion, right? And they're really coming more this side. And I think that generation in particular is going to be the one that really starts to, I think, put third parties and independents more in the center focus of American politics. Sort of the old guard falling away. They sort of view Republican Democrat as a very old concept, right? And I think that's what we're going to see if we make it. If we make it that long, yeah.
But I'm kind of scared that libertarians are going to end up turning into that party, because as we gain market share, it becomes more about money and less about principle. And I get it. It shouldn't be, well, we're not caring so much about winning elections as getting the message out. It should not be that, because I want to win the election. Sure. But it should be about winning the election and principles. And I don't know how to get to that.
So speaking of principles, let's talk a little bit about school choice and the education system of Arkansas.
Yeah, let's talk about school choice. So we have passed recently, a couple years ago, the Arkansas legislature passed probably one of the most sweeping educational reforms in America with the passage of the LEARNS Act. And long story short, the LEARNS Act is a school voucher system. And again, we can talk about the moral hazards of this issue and how it's funded, but it is a step towards liberty. It is a movement away from a purely state-driven education system. And it essentially funds, education freedom accounts at a percentage, roughly 90% of the state sort of dole out that would be given to a public school student anyway. And it's sort of being rolled in phases. But by 2026, it'll be available to every single student in Arkansas, even for homeschool. So, homeschool parents can get $7,000 for homeschool. Now, of course, as libertarians, we would like the government to be completely out of education. I think that that is a very noble goal, and I think that we should aim for it. But let's face it, we're never going to get to that place if we do not have an independent generation making those decisions, in 10 to 20 years from now. And we have to grow an independent generation, and we have to grow a generation of people who are economically viable for themselves. They can earn their own money. They can pay their own way. They're not one of three like Arkansans are today that are on Medicaid. They're not somehow dependent upon the state for this, or this. And one of the most interesting things about educational freedom that is, I think, rarely talked about is the fact that this is the only opportunity that states have to really change the dynamics of their relationship with the federal government and their own futures. We can't really do it in healthcare. Healthcare systems across America, by and large, if you look at them, are so dependent upon federal dollars. The numbers are staggering. If your state, any state, was to say, we're just not going to accept Medicare dollars here, nobody in our state can participate in Medicare, we're not going to pay it out, we don't want it, it would just be a massive imbalance. It just couldn't work. Now, Title I funds for education, of course, from it was no student left behind, and then it became what is Every Student Succeeds Act, ESSA. ESSA standards, to receive Title I funds, basically say, sort of in the mafioso way, is you have the choice to run your K through 12 education system however you want to. But if you don't do it our way, you're not going to get this, right? And the problem is that the way we're baking the cake, so to speak, we're using the federal recipe in many ways, we're getting a terrible product. Absolutely. And I don't think anybody argues that. And, an objective view of the standards clearly shows this is not working.
And it's more expensive.
And it's insane. I mean, and we keep throwing money at it. It's an inelastic solution. There's never going to be, Mike, let me tell you, I was sitting here. They tried to pass an amendment to get on the ballot to do a universal pre-K and some other things that would essentially ruin school choice in Arkansas. This was going to be a ballot initiative. And, the group that was putting it on, they were on public television, and I was watching the interview with the woman, and the interviewer says, well, how much money is this going to cost? And of course they go, well, we don't have the number yet. So they were going to try to pass, actually a constitutional amendment that would have, put a requirement on the legislature to make a mandatory change in how everything is done, and didn't even have a price tag yet associated with it. Well, we later come to find out it's like, over $1 billion or something. But and he said, and she goes, but isn't it true that for our children, no number is too much? And I think that is also another problem, is the
emotional
lack of
arguments that are empty.
Right. Exactly, Mike. Exactly. Because we have
saves one life, so get rid of cars, you idiot.
Yeah, I mean,
what's wrong with you? That'll save like 40,000.
Yeah. Maximum benefit utility is thrown out the window, and we chase these irrational emotional arguments. Perfectly said. So this is not a money thing. This is not a monetary thing. This is not a funding thing. I believe very much, by and large, that this is a method thing, and I believe it's intentional. I believe that there is whether, again, things left done or done intentionally or said or unsaid, there's a benefit to an ever-growing government to have people dependent. And people are dependent when they cannot think critically and they cannot earn for themselves. And so you do not want to create an independent generation. That doesn't benefit them.
Well,
right?
You said 1 out of 3 in Arkansas were on Medicaid, and I was, because that means at most 2 out of 3 may be viable producers. And you need viable producers, and that doesn't mean all that 66% left over is working their butts off. So you have right there, adding in demographics, 3 out of 4 can't join the military youth because they're not in shape for it. Right. We're having less and less children as we go on. Social Security is going to collapse. That's math. That's not Mike Scott. We can't afford it. Education is similar. We're trying to sit there and spend more money on something that, Jesus, how much more do you want to spend on it? Per student, we're wasting billions.
So the average property tax bill in my neighborhood, I just live in a very normal sort of neighborhood. And of course, property rates are different everywhere. But the average property tax bill in my neighborhood is probably around $3,000 a year per home. And so I think it's like me and 4 of my neighbors are paying for 1 kid to basically have a less than 50% chance of reading at grade level. That's absolute insanity.
Less than 50%.
Absolute insanity. And again, the administrative state of education it's so interesting to me when you look at the makeup of how the function of the actual thing happens, whether it's education or healthcare. Both of them have had an enormous growth in administrators, compliance, middle managers, so to speak. Very little growth in frontline sort of, workers, whether you want to call them teachers, nurses, doctors, whatever. And so, yeah, all this is just bloat. That's all of it. It's all bloat. But Fina, the interesting thing from a libertarian perspective, again, back to the K through 12 stuff, is I think that states should be willing and brave enough to say, you know what, to hell with Title I funds. The way we're baking our cake is not producing the results we need. We are going to make our own K through 12 stuff. We're going to either have, CTE equivalency. We're going to identify talents early. We're going to say, hey, little Johnny at 7 years old, he's going to be an amazing welder. We're going to put him, he's going to go to welding school right now, whatever the parents want to have happen so that he can produce for himself a future that's viable. And we can lease back all of these state-run education facilities to these career training institutes. They would pay money to have our facilities. They would be financially incentive based off job placements. We can make it a revenue-neutral argument. And oh, by the way, we're going to be saving money every single year as we begin to get people off welfare rolls, and they can pay for themselves. Yes. So we can do this. This can be done. Yeah.
We can do this. All right, folks.
I'm coming to Arkansas to vote Mike White.
Nick, come on, man. I'd love to have you down here, brother. Absolutely, dude. I'd love to have you down
here. All right, so we are in the last few minutes.
Sure.
Michael White, would you please, I'm going to give you the solo spot and give your last little pitch. Make sure you say your name, what you're running for, and where people can donate and volunteer and help you out. Okay.
Yeah. So my name is Michael White. Of course, you can see it back here on the sign. If you're watching the video, if you're listening to the audio, it is spelled like it sounds and sounds like it's spelled. I am running for state representative in Arkansas in District 75. And if you're not from Arkansas, you might be thinking, why do I care about your race in Arkansas? I live in so-and-so place. Because this is the most winnable race for a libertarian, a big L libertarian, appearing on the ballot as a libertarian on a state legislature level or higher in the 2024 cycle. Don't just take my word for it. Don't just believe what I say. Go verify what I say. About 14,000, 15,000 people will vote in this election between myself and my sole Democrat opponent. And this election's likely going to be decided by a couple hundred votes. That's how tight this entire thing is going to be. So we do need your help. We've had some great support so far. We've raised around $20,000. We need to raise $6,000 in the month of August to fund our first mailer. Please, if you can, visit mw4liberty.com. You can check out the website there. You can make a financial contribution. We would be very, very happy and grateful for that. I promise you that I'll do my part, that we're going to advertise a winning message. I will conduct myself with integrity. We're knocking on doors. But if you want to have something to celebrate, come election night. If you want to have something to say, not only did the libertarians win hearts and minds, not only did we change the message, we actually put, for the 6th time in history, a libertarian in a state legislature. That to me is a national celebration that we can all unify behind. And so I'm out here doing my part. This is probably the longest I've sat inside in a while, Fina. I'm usually out there. So it's been kind of nice, to be honest, to be here for the broadcast. And I have another one here at about 2:00. But again, thank you so much for having me on there. You can follow me on my socials at the website and everything else. So yeah.
No, thanks for running, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate your reasoning, your logic, your stance. I'm a fan of Michael White.
I'm a fan of Mike Scott over here too, by the way. I've always been a fan of Fina, but I'm definitely a fan of you too, man. This has been great. Thanks for having me.
Libertarian.
All
That's right.
Libertarian, guys. See you guys next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.